Good morning, everyone. Welcome inside the Faith Loop. Glad you're joining with us again today. Pop, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. Sun's shining. It's a nice day.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty.
Yes, indeed. We got a hot cup of Joe. It's always good to slurp a little coffee.
Yeah, start the day.
So if you're having some coffee with us, that's great. We appreciate it. And we got some interesting stuff for you today. I really believe that we are sitting at the edge. We are definitely sitting at the edge. I think we're sitting at the edge of eternity. It's always interesting when you see in Scripture, in the Bible, the word worlds, or depending upon cosmos, or a lot of time in other places you see the word eons, which is just ages. And I believe when Jesus said, I will be with you even until the end of the age, this age is coming to a close. I really believe that. And we're going to talk a little bit about this today, because I think we need to be aware, because that's what we've been talking about. We are right now currently in day 2,110,779 of the crisis of identity. And it is a crisis of identity. And I think it's no greater apparency, or I guess, I don't know if I just made that up. Anyway, it is apparent that we don't know who we are. We really don't. And we're heading at breakneck speed towards our own destruction.
Yep. It looks like it.
I mean, it's crazy out there.
It is.
And when we talk about images, we're talking about the mark of the beast and images and identity and how that correlates. It doesn't appear we're able to discern the wrongs of our past, or the wrongs of the past, to correct our present condition. Agreed?
I agree. And as the man famously said, if you ignore the past, then you're bound to repeat it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it seems like we never learn. We just never learn. I don't know how many lessons we have to have, but we never learn. Like down through history, there has never been a democracy ever work. They all fail. They all fall down. Why? Because you can't have the rule of the people when it's all different.
Right.
And a true democracy is the government has nothing to say in it. They don't have anything to do with it. It's just whoever the majority wants. So if the majority is say just out on some limb somewhere, and they vote that, then we got a problem. See, so it don't work. Socialism's never worked. None of them's ever worked. Reagan said that. He said the government is not the solution to your problem. Government is the problem. So,
Well, and, we're always looking, and those are all, we're always looking for a solution politically, economically,
Right.
Creating this context of which we believe we're going to solve our own issues. We're going to look at this because there's some interesting things that have happened over the last, and if you're not looking or paying attention, it just kind of goes past you. This is why it is important that we do pay attention. It's hard sometimes because you can become melancholy. You can, if your mind is not strong enough, you have to be strong in your faith. Be strong in your faith. Understand and know that, I may be watching this stuff, or I don't watch the news all the time. I watch it as much as possible to understand and know what's going on around me. We are foolish if we don't, because, it's funny. Noah's building an ark, and they didn't know the flood was coming till it swept them away.
Right. Didn't believe it.
If we are listening to this stuff and we still don't believe it, we go, it's just politics as usual and whatnot. No, 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 no. No. And I'm going to show you. Our crisis, and a crisis, remember, is just decision making. Our decision making ability hasn't improved much.
No, not much.
We're walking down the same path as our predecessors, and I'm going to show you something, and I'll show you why. I'm going to read this out of Daniel, and I think, we're always reading the scriptures. We're always reading Daniel. We're reading, we're looking for the beast and prophecy and what's fulfilled and this and that, and we miss the point. This is the point, friends. The image is there, yes. And we're going to talk about that here in just a minute. But this is the point. This is in the third. King Nebuchadnezzar made an image of gold, whose height was 60 cubits and its breadth 6 cubits. He set it up on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. Now, Dura was probably some place where they could all gather together. It was in a plain and whatnot. And I'm going to show you the correlation of what they're doing there to what we're doing today, folks. This is what I want to point out. Then King Nebuchadnezzar sent to gather the satraps, the prefects, and the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the justices, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. You know what's interesting? He didn't call the plebes.
No. All those were in his ruling
in
class.
Places of power. We do not fight against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers in high places. That's paraphrasing.
Spiritual wickedness in high places.
Okay. Then the satraps, the prefects, the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the justices, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces gathered for the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And they stood before the image that he had set up. And the herald proclaimed aloud, "You are commanded, O peoples, nations, and languages." Now listen to what he just said there. "You are commanded, O peoples, nations, and languages." I wish, I've never taken an IQ test. Don't care. I really don't. But let's look at this. We talk about how can he's not talking to all the nations and the peoples and languages. Yes, he is, because that power structure set up there. How do we equate this to what we see in the world today?
Yep.
They just did this in Glasgow.
Yes, they did.
Right? Hey, I want all the prefects, the governors, the magistrates, all the people to come to Glasgow, and we're going to do this summit. Davos, United Nations.
Yep.
What we have to consider, we're always looking for this one man. We're looking for the mark, 666. They're going to write it in my forehead and all this other nonsense. No, the mark of the beast has been around a long time.
Yes, it has.
Okay. How is that being fulfilled? And we're going to get into that. We're going to finish. But I'm just trying to show you the construct that these things are coming from. And where we see this in history. He is talking to all the peoples, the sheep. That when you hear the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, bagpipe, and every kind of music, you are to fall down, worship the golden image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall immediately be cast into a burning fiery furnace. Therefore, as soon as all the peoples heard the sound of the horn, the pipe, blah, 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 all the peoples, nations, and languages fell down and worshiped the golden image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. There was only the magistrates and all that. It wasn't all the people there. We get this image that everybody from the whole world showed up there. No. It was a representation through the powers that ruled of the peoples, nations, and languages.
They couldn't have all been there. There's no place big enough to hold that. How could you have got all of them there? That would have been...
It's impossible, Dad. Could you do that today? That's 7 billion people on the planet.
Yeah, I don't think you get them all in one place.
It'd be a pretty logistical nightmare. And then the sound system you'd have to have is pretty...
That'd be a pretty good one. Better than Rolling Stones have.
What are we talking about then here? What are we saying? What are we looking at? What was Nebuchadnezzar doing? We think just come down, fall down. Sure, there was an image involved.
Oh yeah, there was.
Okay. And I'm gonna show you this right here. This one of our congregation members here, John, sent me this, and I thought it was Justin's going to throw this image up here. This was recently erected outside of the United Nations building in New York City. And if you're looking at this image, you will see it is a leopard with eagle's wings. And you notice the coloring. Everybody recognizes that as LGBTQ. In an article from CBN, and all these references are in our show description below, folks. Anything you want to see, everything we talk about, I'm putting all these references. Everything is there for you to go look at it. Go look. The United Nations has placed a giant statue in New York that seems to resemble an end times beast. Now, okay, fine, whatnot. This came from Oaxaca, Mexico, donated by the government of Oaxaca, Mexico. And in a tweet here, the United Nations photo, this is a tweet from the United Nations, a guardian for international peace and security sits on the Visitors Plaza outside UN headquarters. The Guardian is a fusion of a jaguar and eagle donated by the government of Oaxaca, Mexico. It is created by artists Jacob and Maria Angeles. Guardian for International Peace and Security.
It's the Guardian.
I'll tell you.
It's a rock.
Now, are they saying to fall down and worship that?
Not yet.
Yes, they are.
Well, in a way, yeah.
Yes, they are. See, this is what Nebuchadnezzar was doing, folks. I know we have the verbiage, and it's hard for us sometimes when we read the Bible and we don't understand the context of what's going on. You have to understand that is a political situation. What was Nebuchadnezzar doing? He was consolidating power. He was looking at a global context of power, of a mindset, of a single mindset that would dictate all of the world in his mind.
Yeah, all of his known world.
Yes.
Absolutely.
This is the point of these things. We read the Bible in such a way that we never really discern what's going on around us. And this is why I said earlier what I said about discerning the wrongs of the past to correct our present condition. This is what Jehovah always was frustrated about. Why don't we understand? With all your strength, get wisdom, and with all your wisdom, get understanding.
Well, one of the tragedies of religion down through the years, and as you know, I'm not a big believer in religion. I believe in salvation. I believe in being born again. I believe in being a follower of Jesus, a follower of the way, which is that's what they called them in the New Testament, right. Or the saints. They weren't statues that people bow down and pray to. All the children of God were called saints. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is they've spiritualized everything. And what I mean by that is everything has some mystical, spiritual connotation, as Brian said, the number and all of that. And because they're so caught up in that, they miss actually what's going on. Because what's going on is real, It can be understood. It isn't mythical. It isn't some spiritual apparition. It's happening.
Right.
And so, but because we're so caught up in the other, we fail to see what's really happening. It's a great way of setting up a diversion.
Agreed, Pop. Yeah.
In war,
Yeah.
if you can set up a diversion and then attack from a different direction, you can be successful. Any man that's ever studied the art of war knows that. Sun Tzu said it years ago. So he or they understand that. Mm-hmm. So they set up these diversions to look like it's something that it isn't. And all the while behind the scene, they're doing exactly what they intend to do.
Well, this comes to the point of what we consider in Revelation, okay? We all we all want to be ecumenical, and we just love everybody, and everybody is in love with us, and everybody's just trying to get to heaven.
Yeah.
No matter your denomination, just we all believe in Jesus. And that's not the case. I'm sorry. I don't believe, as Dad talked about, we've never looked at, I'm not a denominational person. I don't believe in denominationalism. I don't believe in splitting. I think there is one Lord, one faith, and one baptism. Not, what is it, like 45,000 just
Somewhere
in the
in
United
there,
States
yeah.
alone?
A lot of them.
Not quite sure how that works. But we all say it's one faith, but we all disagree on. It's frustrating, I think. So how do we see this? And you go, well, you're right. I hate that. That's one of the puniest arguments I think that people just get all indignant and go, oh, you're saying you're right? No, I'm not. Jesus is right. Last time I looked, he's the king.
Yep.
Not me. Don't go. Why don't you go talk to Jesus, friend? That's what I do. I'm looking to Jesus, not to a denomination, not to a pastor in that respect. That doesn't mean I disrespect pastors or believe that they aren't set in office. Not in office, but in gifts.
Right.
Not in office, not to lord over God's heritage, but placed in the body as it pleases the Lord. We've forgotten that.
Yeah.
By electing, by hiring, by the processes of all this other nonsense. That's not what we don't try to discern anything anymore, Dad. It's tragic, and because of this is the shape we're in.
Well, one of the things that's interesting, son, is Daniel talked about a beast. Revelation talks about a beast. And if you look at the terminology in prophecy, there isn't a commentator out there that won't agree with this. Beast always represented a nation or a kingdom, not a man.
Right.
Now, there are men that run them, yes, I understand
To
that.
be sure. Right.
But he said the mark of the beast,
Right.
not the mark of a man. Now, the man whose number is 666 could be a controller of that beast, but that was only to tell us that we probably could identify him by that and identify then the kingdom, the beast kingdom. Well, there's a lot of argument all the way around about that. I have my own belief about it, but nevertheless, it's a beast. So it's a beast system. Whether there's a man stands up or not, I don't know. I'm not worried about it. I'm more worried about, and I'm not really worried about it, but I'm interested in the beast. What is the beast?
We're going to get into, over the next, like I said, we're talking about this. We're going to get into that.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important, Dad.
It is.
I'm
it's
sorry.
very important.
I just want to make sure people know.
You're fine. But the beast system is a kingdom system. And as Brian said before, we see right now, they've been trying to do this for years. Right after World War I, they tried to get the nations together. It didn't work, it failed.
Right.
But then after World War II,
They got it done.
they got it done, and we got the United Nations. Mm-hmm. We have the UE. We have several things like that. We have NATO. This is all things that are there to try to bring people,
To call all the governors,
Yeah,
the prefects,
to call everybody, to sit down together. And like you mentioned in Davos, that's what they did in Davos. They all
That's
sat
right.
down together.
And Dad, to your point, they're saying this is the way we should go. This is the way we need to think. You need to go back to your country and build back better.
Yes. Yeah, the whole world's saying it now. It's not just one nation. See, what's going on right now in the world is unprecedented in history.
Well,
It's unprecedented.
I don't think so, because we read right there. I
Well,
think it's similar in
on the
this.
scale, though.
I agree with.
On the scale, that's what I'm talking about.
That I agree
It's
with.
not unprecedented in the way that
Men have
because
been trying to do this for a long time.
every one of them did.
Yes.
Alexander the Great thought that if he could rule the world with Greek philosophy and society, it would make the world better.
That's
Because
correct.
the Greeks were the best ones. The Romans did the same thing.
Yeah.
Genghis Khan did the same thing. You name them.
That's the point of world domination.
Yes.
And it's not domination, it's they really believe, they are convinced by the adversary that we can define our existence. We can define the way we live in the earth. We can define ourselves. We can live by our own strength. We have the power to do this. And that's what Nebuchadnezzar was doing here.
And one thing they all have in common, all of them, is the fear. They're afraid of them because they'll kill you.
Yes.
That's the major weapon they have is fear. Shaka Zulu, I know people seen the movie. He was real. He was real. And how did he rule the Zulu people? He'd just kill you. He had no feelings, nothing that way. He'd just kill you. And so it was the Zulu nation grew and it was powerful, but at the same time, they were oppressed. They lived in fear of him and everything. And finally, his sister had him killed. And so it's the nature of all of them.
Coming back to this here, we talk about he's called all these people together, right? Nations and languages, because he wants to determine existence. He wants to determine. This image is a representation. That's all of his power, what I want to do. When you go back to your nations, at this time of the day, when the music plays, everybody's got to come and pay homage. That was part of the culture in those days, right? Yes. But you got to understand, and if you read down, I wanted to read that part because but here's the thing. The three Hebrews that were there, people forget, it wasn't all the Jews that were there. It was just these three men. Why? Because they represented part of that hierarchy.
Yes, they did.
They were part of the council of Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon.
Yes, they were. Part of his house.
And if you read down further, it says some of the officials came to Nebuchadnezzar and said, "These guys aren't doing this, king." And that's when he got upset. What do we see today? If we don't stand against what's going on, this is the same thought process, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What are we doing in our day and age? Do we believe that Jesus is Lord? Do we confess with our mouth and believe in our minds that Jesus is Lord and that there is no other kingdom, there is no other strength, and the governments of men are coming together against that? Do we really believe that? See, I know that's where people go, you really believe, you believe that? Yes, I do. Because the religions of the world, the Christian religions of the world, I should say, are not saying that. They're right in there with them. And this goes a little bit to the context of what we talk about with the false prophet and where does that come from. See, because you have to remember, folks, Revelation, what Jesus revealed to John, who was it for? We think just the world in general, it's just this general revelation, like almost like Einstein's theory of general relativity. It's just a general thing. No. You go to these 7 congregations in these 7 cities in Asia, and you tell them this, John.
Yep. It was directed.
We don't put anything in context. So when you understand that out of this, the thought process coming in was about the church, the false prophet, this, and a prostitution that was coming of the church to the beast and giving power and putting and allowing it to power to. And today, what do we see? We're a Christian nation. No, there's no such thing. Oh, there may be. I mean, you can say what you want to, but there's only one kingdom. Jesus said, if my kingdom was of this world, then would my servants fight. It's not like this. We're not here for that. We're not fighting against. We're fighting against principalities and powers in high places. And this mindset that is directing the world into this one thought process.
Yep. It's not hard to understand if you look at the scripture and what it actually is saying. There's a lot of imagery in Revelation. Yeah, there's a lot of imagery, and he used a lot of imagery because
we got imagery today. We just showed you.
Yeah,
right.
But you have to understand that what he saw in his day, he explained it the best he could, and he might have saw modern things. The Lord might have showed him modern things, and he described it the best way he could. But still, even with all of that imagery, if you really read it, you see what he's saying. You see it. You see that this is not something new. It isn't something, it's just something they've never been able to do yet completely.
Agreed.
They just haven't been able to do it.
We couldn't overcome the languages, the barriers and the things that were there. And you look at the Jews, that's what they're trying to break down now, is breaking down the cultural norms that have always existed within nations.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and you can agree or disagree. You can get upset, turn it off. I don't care. But it's almost, there's a very small percentage of the world population that is, I don't know how to even say it, LBJQT or whatever it is.
LBGTQ. Z3,
okay.
Something like that.
And yet, it's almost been made like an idol. I mean, they nearly worship it. I mean, look at the colors on that thing.
Well, that's the thing, too. And you're talking about imagery. Why are we still doing that?
Yeah. I mean,
in our modern times, Dad.
They have become almost untouchable in society. You say anything. And you know what? I don't hate them. I'm not against them. I've ministered to them. I've seen some of them come to the Lord and change.
Yep.
I have in my life. In fact, one that I remember distinctly. Came to the pastors of church, married and got children. They tell you, oh no, why is it pushed so hard? Why? By people that aren't that way. Right. Now, I'm not saying we should stand them up and shoot them. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying.
Preach the gospel.
But preach the gospel, preach the truth. It's just like any other sin. Yeah. If I don't hate alcoholics. I don't like what they're doing to themselves, but I don't hate them. I've ministered to them. People say, well, would I be welcome in your congregation? Absolutely. I'll preach the gospel to you. Maybe you'll get saved. Maybe you'll get born again. But I'm still not going to agree with the perversion.
It is.
I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to try to tell you and convince you of the truth of Jesus Christ. And that, but you're a bigot, you're a racist, you're a hater because no, I just don't agree. I don't hate nobody.
It's not the truth.
No, it isn't the truth.
It's not the truth.
And there isn't one thing hardly in the world today that's been more put to the front and people just forced to almost like, you know, the baker that wouldn't make the cake.
Yeah.
Well, I thought in America we were free to refuse service to anyone, even if you don't wear shoes or a shirt. You know, it's my business. It's my place establishment. Now, would it be always right? No, that's not the point. The point is, according to the man's convictions, he didn't want to do that because he doesn't think that, he thought by doing that he would be saying, I agree with it. And he said, I don't agree. So, you know, I mean, I've seen politicians almost come to blows because they don't agree with each other. Is that racist? Is that racism? Is that bigotry? No, they don't agree with each other. As simple as that. And so, you know, here we see in society right now this tremendous merging of everything. It's all trying to be merged together.
Well,
into one system.
We're defining culture as a matter of global context. That everybody around the globe, it's not just this nation, I believe this nation, this, not. No. This is what was happening with Nebuchadnezzar. This is what was there. This is what Jehovah stopped it. This is why today we're seeing what we're seeing, this globalist thought process that says we have to change that. We're coming together. We're going to build back better. We're all going to think as one. We're all going to help each other. It's all this. How do we see that? Where do we go from here? And tomorrow we're going to pick up this conversation because we're going to finish it with some stuff in Revelation and look at the mark in that respect and put ourselves in a place to understand why we see these in histories and why we're not discerning what is happening. There's too much imagery in this respect, and the beast, and you got a shot, and this. It's about how you believe. It's about renewing the mind in the manner in which you were created to be.
Well, and real quickly, see, I mentioned a while ago they made people afraid. There was a fear. All the vaccination, all that, it's a fear factor.
Absolutely.
They built in a fear factor, and through the fear factor, control.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to talk. We got some information. There's, like I said, there's stuff in the show description there. You can go and look. It's stuff that we're looking. We'll bring some of these things to bear tomorrow in the broadcast. So until then, everybody have a great day in the Lord. Always remember to give love
and give life
and give Jesus.